Time now for the Daily Answer, sponsored by Salem Surround on The Answer Now TV.
So I want to play a couple clips for you. And again, they all tie in together. First, let's go to cut number 2. Please, Mr. Eric Hansen. This is VP Vance, the autopsy of the Democrats. Don't be a crazy people, he says. Let's roll it.
Look, the autopsy for the Democrats, some free political advice from the President of the United States is stop sounding like crazy people. That really is all it is. I mean, this idea that Gavin Newsom is somehow going to mimic Donald Trump's style, I think that ignores the fundamental genius of President Trump's political success, which is that he's authentic. He just is who he is. You've got to be yourself. You've actually got to talk to people honestly about the issues. I don't think it's that complicated. Don't be a crazy person. Be authentic. If the Democrats did that, they'd do a hell of a lot better. But the thing is, the Democrats really can't help themselves. If you look at the transgender issue, they're still talking about letting, men play in women's sports. If you look at the crime issue, they're calling Donald Trump a fascist for taking action that in 9 days has dropped armed robberies by 55%. So part of sounding less crazy is being less crazy. And if the Democrats were less crazy, I think we'd all get along a whole lot better.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. I mean, they turn absolutely crazy. All they can do is insult you. They have no ideas. And then you have ideas. You come up with solutions instead of saying, hey, listen, I like this idea. I think this is a better solution. No, they just call you names. It's like they're little children. They are little children. It is the weirdest thing. I really do believe that Democrats have been successful in imposing a sort of arrested development on their voters. It is the same way in which social media has to many kids, in my opinion. It's absolutely crazy. All right, and we don't have the video clip, and forgive me, I should have asked for this, but I don't know if you guys saw the video of VP Vance walking through Union Station yesterday with, was it yesterday? I believe it was yesterday, with Stephen Miller, with SecDef Pete Hegseth, and all you saw were these, literally, I scanned, all right? I scanned at least the cameras, everybody that was shown in the cameras, and they weren't tight camera angles. I'm talking about they were scanning Union Station. The only people that I saw yelling at the only people that I saw yelling at VP Vance and SecDef Hegseth and Stephen Miller, a bunch of white liberals telling them to all types of nasty words, cuss words, so on, etc. Get out of their community in all types of different ways. All right. It was insane. And I just sat there and I was thinking, like, wow. It was all white liberals. I'm sorry. I believe in racial profiling, so I may offend some of you guys. I believe that racial profiling is good for your health. I think racial profiling at times can save your life. All right. So, but I saw it was obviously all white liberals. And I was thinking, I seriously doubt they live in the hood. I seriously doubt the people in Union Station yelling at the vice president, SecDef Hegseth, Stephen Miller. I seriously doubt they worry about getting robbed or beat. I mean, unless maybe they unless they drive through certain parts of D.C. I just had the feeling that they really didn't have to worry about that. And I almost feel like that's, in my mind, okay, I'm not saying they are racist, but I believe that is racist. Carl, why do you say that? It's why I believe the Democrat Party is racist. I still believe the Democrat Party is as racist as it's ever been. They were the party for Jim Crow. They were the party for slavery, the pro-slavery party. And I think they still are now, just in a different way. They don't use whips and chains. What they do now is steal money from you and then appropriate that money, if you allow them to illegals coming into the country, to keep people on welfare or so on, etc. Keep that carrot in front of their face, keep that welfare cheese pumping in their veins so that they can control them. It's the craziest thing to me. And I look at what's happening in Washington, D.C. There was a column where there are more minorities that are starting to see. We spoke about this some yesterday, but I ran across another column. I don't know. I don't even know if I can find it because I don't think I had it printed out. Basically it was this. All right. Basically it was this. A lot of people are recognizing that cleanup is happening in D.C. The only frustration, listen to this, from many blacks in the D.C. area is they didn't think that President Trump, listen to this, this is important. They didn't think President Trump and the National Guard was doing enough in the hood. In other words, they wanted to see boots on the ground within some of the worst neighborhoods in the hood. Now, there was a lady yesterday where the National Guard were at, and she said, man, now I can come out my door. I feel better about coming out. I was worried about the tactics the police or National Guard were going to use. It wasn't anything like that. And now all of the riffraff that were in my neighborhood, all of a sudden I'm walking out the door and that's not an issue. Well, now there are more communities in the surrounding DC area that are saying, hey, this is all for show because they haven't come to my neighborhood yet. I want them to come to our neighborhood, my neighborhood, and clean it up. Excuse me? You want law enforcement to come to your neighborhood and clean it up? Some of them even said maybe this is just show that the president is, maybe this is just show for, President Trump and the National Guard. Now, I gotta say this. You guys forgive me. All right. Actually, you don't deserve. I'm gonna be straight up with you. You are lucky or you are blessed that President Trump won the presidency. Frankly, you don't deserve for your neighborhoods to be cleaned up. Carl, how could you be so mean? You didn't vote for him. You thought he was a Nazi. You thought he was a dictator. And now you're saying, wait a minute, this is all for show. Where's the National Guard? Now they're cleaning up stuff by the Capitol. How come they're not in my hood? Maybe you should have voted for him.
Stay informed anytime, anywhere with the Salem News Channel at 9:30 a.m. TheAnswer.com. This has been The Daily Answer, sponsored by Salem Surround on The Answer Now TV.